Rev TV brings the world of motorsports into your home with over 100 live race series such as MotoGP, IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, Extreme E, World Superbike, and the newly launched all-electric E1 series. From 2 wheels to 4, from land to sea, your destination is Rev TV.
Tonight, it's a battle for championships, it's a battle for glory, and it's a battle going to go under the lights. Tonight, it's going to be an interesting one as we start our coverage of the premier sim racing Outlap Motorsports Truck Series here on Green Flag TV. I'm Justin Prince alongside Derrick Watson. Dustin Ollis is our producer for this evening's coverage as it's time to see who becomes a champion. Lots to talk about tonight as we end off the schedule here in California, Fontana specifically, at what is now the currently shuttered Auto Club Speedway. And Derrick, quite simply, tonight, going to be potentially a fun one with multiple groups for racing.
You know, JP, it is really sad this place is shuttered because you think about the new NASCAR system of rotating the finales. This just feels right, doesn't it? Auto Club, I mean, it'd be difficult time zone-wise to do it at night maybe, but Auto Club, finale, big track, multiple grooves, it feels fun. I'm glad we're doing it here for PSR for the Season 3 finale. And speaking of that, one of those championships you hinted at, JP, is the Final Four. You see the tournament-style graphic, the bracket. It's Regan, it's Kalen, it's Holly, it's Lowendick. We've been in this spot before, identically, 1 year ago. Same four, I think same track. You see everything happening there for these drivers. Look at that. There's the stats on the graphics, JP. These drivers have fought all year long. All of them have earned their way in, have locked themselves into this spot, and they are ready for battle.
And it's going to be a fun battle as a result here. We'll have to see who's got the upper hand by the end of the night. As you see, some drivers scoring as many as 13 wins this season. The team standings, though, is one of the things that's a part of Season 4 itself. That sees Regan Bug Motorsports Neon at the top of the standings with 717 points. It's a 21-point difference, Derrick, to Waterback Racing. Those two teams battling to see which one's got the upper hand tonight.
Yeah, and I suspect maybe a little bit of that Championship 4 battle might help drive this team battle as well. So that's going to be fun to watch. This is not over. It's only 20-some points between these drivers, or between these teams and these 6 drivers. This is wide open.
It's going to be going any direction here. Keep in mind there is also a best of the rest championship. Nicholas Acosta, Mike Toomer Jr., Zach Williams, 9-point difference between those drivers to keep an eye on for that championship. But as we get ready for tonight's festivities, I'd like to remind you tonight's coverage is presented in part by Outlap Motorsports. At Outlap, motorsport is more than just a hobby. It's therapy. They know the garage, the paddock, and the driver's seat can be a safe space. That's why Outlap proudly supports men's mental health and encourages drivers to check in with themselves and each other. Because what happens off the track matters just as much as what happens on it. Tonight also brought to you by Hyperion Racing. It is a top-tier esports team competing at the highest levels of sports car racing and iRacing. With a focus on endurance and team events, the team is built for performance and results. While sports car racing is our battleground, oval racing has been a core part of our identity and blood. From short tracks to super speedways, Hyperion Racing applies the same strategy, precision, and competitive edge to every race. Hyperion Racing, believe the hype. So drivers are currently in the midst of their preparations, still a few minutes to go in qualifying. One thing we are doing a bit special for tonight is a little bit of detail of by the numbers. What do those numbers look like? Let's take a look. Welcome back, everyone. Some interesting numbers to think about for tonight, but in turn, it's going to be such an important race. In terms of track position, you have to think tonight. Qualifying so critical, Derrick, at a circuit like this, especially when you think about it, you have an hour and 15 minutes. That time limit going to factor in the potential for strategies. Robert Barney actually is the one on the pole at the moment. Mark Kalin is the highest out of anybody out of the playoff drivers in the championship 4, and he's got it on his first lap, not the second.
Yeah, and there's a lot going on to talk about. The storylines are already developing, but watch here as this gold car is going around the track here. Going to get down and use that apron to get that little extra speed from Mark Kalin. Be careful not to touch the grass there, and that's no faster for Mark. But look at that, by the way. I saw, as that scrolls down there, Bradley Holly well off pace in his first lap, and maybe he's going to try a second run at it, JP, but I don't know. But right now, Bradley Holly is, wow, he's starting P20?
Yeah, he did not get a second lap, towed the truck, according to scoring, within a few moments. Speaking of which, qualifying's coming to a close. No one else can improve on their times. Let's take a look at your starting grid tonight. That grid brought to you by Profit Python. Then you take a look as a result. Robert Barney is on the pole tonight. He's one of the drivers for the team championship. Mark Kalin will start in second position, 4 1/1000ths the difference. Ted Lewedick starts row 2 on the inside, with Richard Regan Jr. to his outside within 32 1/1000ths. Row number 3, that will feature Thomas Sink. Mike Toomer Jr. will start to the outside in the JLS Racing truck. Jeff Evans starts in 7th tonight. Then it's Nicholas Schwartz in one of the Miracle Flow Motorsports machines. Matt Gagnon makes an appearance tonight in 9th. And Blaine Adams, another appearance for an Adams Family Racing car. He'll start 10th.
Come back in the P11 to 1 truck, and Jamie Graham is next to the 28 of Zachary Burns. Moving back into P13, you'll see Colton Lane in the 60 part of Whataback Racing. He's next to Nicholas Acosta in the 816 back in P14. We get to row 8, it's James Morgan making his return this week. And 15th next to Nick Hunter back in P16. P17's Doyle Lawrence in the 88 truck next to Zach Williams, the last of the best of the rest, back in P18. P19's Nicholas Godina, and he is next to a surprising number, the 184, Bradley Holly in P20.
That was the last driver to take a time. A couple others did not take times tonight. Those drivers towards the tail, Steve Loving, Brett Adams, and Nathan Ray will start at the tail in the 000. Let's look top to bottom at your running order, Derrick. Tonight's going to be fun, but there is a partner to that starting grid.
Yeah, you're right. Tonight's starting grid and every week is presented by Profit Python. You know, every second counts, both on the track and in the world of deal hunting. That is the edge that Profit Python delivers. It's the ultimate Discord for deal hunters and side hustlers, with lightning fast alerts on price drops, secret sales, and hidden jackpots. Before the rest of the world catches on, you can find out. Profit Python. Strike fast. Profit faster.
So, in turn, you see all 4 drivers have cameras available here tonight. Take a look at how they're set up here in their specific rigs. Various different layers to set setups, but overall tonight, Derrick, what do you think the keys are to win a championship?
I think it's going to be consistency about these first opening laps, getting yourself settled and getting rid of those nerves. I know that we'll play some interviews throughout the night we conducted with these drivers, and you'll hear the different levels of confidence and anxiety in these drivers' voices that we recorded throughout the week. And I think getting here, getting that groove, getting around traffic, and of course avoiding the calamity will likely help you win this championship.
It's going to be an interesting night, to say the very least, for our Championship 4 and for everybody battling for titles tonight. Again, our current estimate, somewhere around maybe 100 laps or so, depending on how things fare out here this evening. But we're happy to have you with us for tonight's coverage of PSR and Outlap Motorsports Truck Series action. Looks like we'll go one more time here. I'll take the opportunity to ask you this. We did talk about, since you did ask for about would I give you this question, I will give you this question. Who do you think wins the championship and why?
Man, I think it's Kalen. I think that these kind of tracks like Auto Club, some of the older NASCAR tracks, if you want to categorize it that way, really benefit Mark's driving style. When I talked to him this week, he just sounded confident. He sounded like he kind of quote-unquote had it together. I think this is Mark's race. And Mark came darn close a year ago in this thing's previous iteration of PRL. And it's so funny to think of all the, things that are similar, JP. 1 year ago, these same 4 drivers came down to a Final 4. And last year, it came down to a late race caution and a dash to the end that let Ted Lowendick win over top of Mark Kalen. But this year, I think it's Mark's race.
So we'll have to see if that's going to live up to that respective expectation here. So we get ourselves ready to go for tonight in this one. Again, we're happy with us here on Green Flag TV for tonight's coverage as we get ready to see where the field stands and where the championships end up tonight. Just about ready to roll here from California. Pace car should be dropping off this time by. Field in the hands of Robert Barney. The RBM machine will hit the gas pedal first. The green flag is out. We're underway from Fontana. Good start for Robert Barney, able to clear off 4, already clear for the lead, but it's side by side for the championship 4. Kalen on the outside, Lowendick on the inside. Can the 13 find a way around yet? Middle line at least has some good pace. You can use a lot of different lanes in 1 and 2, in particular here, Derrick. That's what we're seeing with some people already migrating up to the top, others short distance around the same tire.
Yeah, similar to the race we did at Michigan a couple weeks ago, I think the right answer here is going to be, JP, to really ride that top lane and sort of block people from getting that ultimate run up off the corners. Here is Bradley Holly, by the way. He's already up 5 spots on, Nicholas Hunter was outside right there. And Brad needs to get up through this field quickly. Brad is probably the driver most hoping for an early caution to help him find the front of the field.
But it's not a guarantee here. This track where it's hard to get yellow flags early on here because there's so much space for people to work with. Look at this, 3 of the championship 4 now clustered together. Lowendick has a bit of overlap on Barney, but Barney slams the door for now. Ted Lowendick started off in these races during the Precision era, during PRL's era, mostly as a road course racer. He's really developed on the oval side to be competitive in races like this. He is still being competitive for this championship up front early.
Yeah, he is. Ted's learned so much about ovals in the past couple years and feels confident. Oh boy, though, don't touch that white line. That's a basic lesson. You saw the car really reacted poorly, got up the hill, and he's now come back to 4th place. Now it's going to be Kalen and Regan. Now Regan bumping his RBM teammate. Now here's the second story, JP, is, oh boy, Kalen went to dig it in deep right there. Those two drivers, Barney in the middle and Regan up top, they're part of RBM Neon. They're trying to hold on to a 21-point lead in the points title right now. So they're also racing for more than Rich's championship.
Now remember, Richard Regan Jr., 13 wins in the season in of itself since that first started all the way back in season 1, round 1. Keep in mind, he started the first half of the season winning about half, if not 3/4 of the races. He cooled off, though, around the midway point of season 3. That's where he slowed down to. Still a lot, 6 victories. Now he's got a teammate bumping him.
Wow, boy, Rich slowed down this season, JP, due to some hardware failures. Had a VR headset fail on him and really had a hard time adjusting to his new headset. Had some technical gremlins, if you want to call them that, really creep up and slow him down this season. Maybe much to the happiness of the rest of the field in a way. But boy, that bump from Barney was scary up the hill. That could have been very detrimental to Rich's chance. But here's Rich now up front. He's now leading here over Ted Lowendick. And this is looking good for Rich, but the others are not letting him off the hook.
Yep, right now just playing the lane games right now. Keep in mind, clean air critical. Right now the estimate of laps, by the way, is by the end of it, if it stays green throughout the race, about 110 to 112 laps tonight. You're talking about, if that's the case, definitely a 2-stop for Derrick, because these trucks can go maybe 35, 40 laps at least. And at that point, it's just about the matter of being able to time up the runs on the fuel and the tires. Seen some of the drivers try and battle it out. Barney losing ground here with his tires, but it's going to be so important to think about over the course of the run, making sure you maintain your Goodyear Eagles, because here in Montana, they fall off pretty hard.
They do, you're right. And I think the other interesting thing to talk about, JP, in this race is typically, when races go long green flag runs at PSR, we talk a lot about fuel saving. We see a lot of drivers really trying to maybe sit 80% throttle and back it off and kind of ride around. But if you're one of those 4, if you're Regan, if you're Holly, Lowendick, or Kalen, I don't know how you can fuel save. How do you fuel save and hope to win a championship? I think it's going to be a very interesting scenario if that does come into play. There's Mark Kalen. He got a bit of a bump down the back straight from Robert Barney, and that's going to kind of help propel Mark back into P3. But right now, here we are, only, believe it or not, 6 minutes into this race. Lots have happened in the past 6 minutes. And hey, that's Bradley Holly. He's up 9 spots in the P11.
Really marching his way through, and that's to be expected here because Bradley Holly, one of the winningest drivers in the PRL era, just a dominant driver on ovals, but tonight just didn't put down the good qualifying effort in the first place, put him behind the 8 ball. It's given him a bit of a challenge, but has given him an earlier pit box potential for later. That's a little thing to think about later, but you can see right now he's just a little bit more comfortable being able to find those lines for corner exits, now using the 1 to close the gap, because if you go side by side, you can lose half a second down 1 straightaway here.
Yeah, and doing a great job using Jamie Graham there and helping maybe get a bit of a draft down the front straight and getting a good run. He'll dig to the bottom and track back out, and he'll kind of do it again. So he's, for the moment, working with Jamie Graham to help close that gap up ahead and see what he can make. The concern I have for Brad right now, JP, is you don't make up 9 or 10 spots in the first 7 minutes of a race and not cook up those tires.
Right now, he's just taking the patient route as we go. Just about 7 minutes burned off the clock so far here tonight. Take a look at one of the longtime veterans to Wednesday nights, Thomas Singh. He's raced with some of these competitors for upwards of near a decade at this point, Derrick. He's been with a fair few groups, but he's always gravitated back to Woodaback, usually in the end. He's amongst the drivers battling here. Same can be said amongst one of his other buddies over the years, and Jeff Evans trying to battle inside with Toomer.
Yeah, and Thomas has been around for a long time. He's a great member. Have a lot of fun getting to know Thomas and the crew, so I'm excited to see him here. But hey, JP, up on the top right of your screen, that's the best of the rest. Those are the 3 drivers in contention. Acosta started the night 9 points to the good. But right now, Mike Toomer's up in P4. Acosta is pretty far back at the moment in P19. So right now, for the moment, Mike Toomer would win. Now, what does Mike Toomer win? He gets free entry into 2026 PSR Season 1 when that begins. So there is something worth fighting for if you're Mike Toomer Jr.
Yep, there is the opportunity, absolutely, to be able to make that easy for yourself. Right now, he's definitely helping his case a little bit with this race to start off at least. Especially since he needed to chip away that gap to Acosta to have that opportunity. Acosta, for reference, is at the back in 19th position. Well back in the order as we go so far. Not the best of starts. He's lost 5 spots and is barely in the main draft.
Yeah, I'm not too concerned yet. I know Acosta told me earlier in the day he thought tire conservation was the name of the game, so I'm excited to see maybe what happens. Anything if when in this long run, right? What can he make up, or how many spots can he make up in this long run? We'll wait and see. So right now, we're about 10 minutes done in this race. A good race so far, JP. Mike Toomer is the only driver not working up against the wall, but this looks pretty spread out.
Everybody is spread apart and just getting to a normal Fontana race. You'll see this field really splinter by the time we get to pit stops. We're already 13 or so laps into the action so far, by the way. And one of the major things noticing is the field is starting to explore that higher groove as you would expect. You're seeing that right now. That yellow machine trying to make some moves. Some of these drivers like Schwartz just testing the different angles you can take here, because if you run the high line, you get looser, Derrick, but it gives you so much power coming off the corner usually. The bottom helps you balance the good years as we talked about earlier, but you end up being a bit more bogged down for the backstretch.
You really do. But what I'm curious about, JP, is as this race goes on, we're gonna approach nighttime. I don't think we're gonna get anywhere near full darkness, but that track's gonna cool off as this night goes on. You see right now it's about 72 degrees Fahrenheit. Typical math would tell us that as this track cools off, more grip would come in. But that said, JP, we're about at that temp at 72, where if this thing cools off anymore, it might kind of flip back around and loosen up a little bit. So I'm not sure what to expect from the weather. If it gets any cooler, you see it's currently about 6:20 p.m. virtual sim time in the month of April. So I don't know how that's going to work out. We'll wait and see, but it's something to keep an eye on as we're now 3 wide down the back straight. What as we were.
Look at this at the track temperature, by the way. It's pretty cool right now. 72 air temp, around 72 track temp, 68 air temp. As you would expect in November, no contact. Schwartz near squeeze. Graham pushing the embers in the Cardano Racing Team machine. And look at who's moving their way on through to that 32. Blaine Adams. It's been running smooth so far tonight. We've seen the Adams machines show flashes of brilliance over the years.
Yeah, they've had some great moments. They've won some titles throughout their league history of different leagues. They've won some races, so that's in there somewhere, right? It's just maybe getting it to unlock in that full consistent mode has been a bit of a challenge, but a great move for the Adams. Speaking of great moves, there's Robert Barney. He's now passed Mark Kalin for P3. Robert, of course, the first driver up in the front of the field that's not a playoff driver. He's just looking to play spoiler tonight, JP.
Absolutely, and Barney has the speed to try and get a race win out here. We've seen earlier on, covered throughout the season, he's shown his ability to run 6th in the season championship standings. It's actually set a couple of most laps led in fastest laps in total this season too. Here he looks to the inside. Looking to try and go to the second spot. Doesn't work out. So the field just continuing to separate out a little bit in splinter. Look at that top 6. It's now worked its way. I'll wait for the rest of the pack as we go. Already about near midway, if not already, on the fuel run. So the field's still separating out. Kalen right now, top 5 still. Ted Lomadick still your championship lead, or second championship behind Regan Jr.
Yeah, you talk about Mark Kalen. I got a chance to sit down with him so we can talk with him, JP. And I want to sit down and play the interview here. I think you'll be maybe excited or impressed to see the confidence Mark had in this interview.
Man, this season has been amazing. Probably by far one of my better seasons in league racing. Starting off with a bang with a win at the inaugural Premier Sim Racing League race. And then following that up the very next week with a second place finish. Unfortunately, it took another 3.5 seasons for me to get another win, which put me into the position I'm in now for a chance at a championship. So all in all, just a great season for 2025, and honestly just continuing to look for improvement going into the next year. My highlight has to probably be the inaugural series win for the league, because that one's always going to be mine. No one can ever take it from me. So just having that in the back of my mind all the time just gives me a little bit of something on my shoulder to kind of carry with me all the time. My biggest challenge this week is going to be just keeping up with Richard, most likely. Last year, it was the same deal, the same same track for the championship race. And I fell up one position short. And I was chasing Richard for the vast majority of that race until he got caught out by caution. So trying to keep up with him, mimic what he does, maybe improve upon it if I can. That's going to be my biggest challenge. And hopefully at the end of the night, I'm the one crowned champion. I don't even know if I can describe it. I'm probably going to be emotional for sure. Might see some tears on me because this would be a long time coming. I've worked super hard, made vast improvements not only to myself mentally, but physically, and both for hardware as far as my sim rig throughout the last 5 years to get to where I am, to where I'm competitive enough to go out and fight for wins each week, fight for a championship at the end of the year. So it's probably going to be an emotional train wreck if I'm the one that comes home with the victory. So just be prepared for some waterworks.
And under caution, just as we were in the midst of those final moments of that interview sequence, once again, thank you, Mark Hamill, for the time to do that. We had Jamie Graham go around with contact from Colton Lane, put us under our first yellow flag of the evening, and the field, as a result here, taking the pit stop because this could be an interesting one in strategy here. Estimated 85 to go from this point.
JP, what stands out to me about this pit stop, though, you talked earlier about this being a two-stop race and what these trucks could and couldn't do. This might make it interesting. I said I didn't think it'd be a fuel mileage race, but this is a little early for that math to work out. That's what I'm trying to say. As pit stops are happening here down the track, I suspect it's going to be 4 tires and gas, I would think, for everybody. But what I'm trying to say is we're only about 20-some laps into this race. I get why you're taking gas. I'm not knocking the idea. But what I am saying is, 20 plus 40, for example, is 60. I think still that's going to be a hard to make this just one more stop.
Man, this season has...
As we see the interview there with Mark. JP, I'm just curious, what were your reactions in watching that interview with Mark Kalin?
Well, it kind of shows just, I think, for him, how much pride he would take in terms of being able to try and win a championship. We've seen Kalin be around and be a part of some of the admin crews actually at some points in the past when it comes to the Wednesdays. So
let's take a look and see what brought the caution here, JP. This was towards the end of that interview. I mean, lane just comes up. They make contact here. Now, this technically is not a caution. This would have been, as you and I know, under the white line. This is off the racing surface. No caution. What happens here is that Jamie Graham kind of gets rolling, makes it pretty awkward, then takes it a hard right and loops it around up the track, and there's your caution.
Yeah, that's a little suspect at the end, but Colton Lane, here's how close the fuel is. It looks like he's thinking, can I try and stretch it, because he just topped off here. He was at the back anyway. It's going to come up to 1 degree. No one else, though, is attempting a top off.
Yeah, I mean, I like this move by Lane. You never know. I mean, if you think fuel is tight, why not? You're probably already towards the back of the pack anyways due to that incident with Jamie Graham. Well, you know what? Last week, JP, you and I were here. We were at COTA. So these images were provided by Mr. Hedge. A pretty fun, exciting race last night. A lead change pretty late in the race helped provide that win for Ted Lowendick to get himself in. You know what, Mr. Hedge, sim racing is full of unforgettable moments, and Mr. Hedge's iRacing photography can help you capture them all. From your first wins to fresh liveries, even those crashes you'll never forget. Mr. Hedge can turn virtual racing into memories worth sharing. They're clean, they're sharp, and they're made for sim racers. Visit mrhedge.co.uk to get your best moments in focus.
Lots of pretty photos from that race, to say the very least, but let's see what the photo moments are here today. The estimate for the race run, by the way, because the caution flag, it's close now. Less than 80 laps. So Colton Lane,
right,
if he can stretch it a decent bit here and get to, say, the 40, it will be wild. But it's Regan Jr. on the gas. Lowendick didn't get a good jump, but Barney definitely did. So teammates able to work together.
Man, look at that difference. Look how far Lowendick is back there. Coming into the first corner, he'll charge forward, and he'll try and catch Richard Regan. He'll be under Robert Barney. But, boy, he got a bit of a shove, luckily for him, from Mark Kalin. But Regan really, it feels like he just missed the start almost. Or, Lowendick, missed the start.
Well, that's something that happens when you have teammates able to get a count, right? Helps them get in sync, helps them get the jump. Here comes Kalin getting a run, though, for second in the championship 4. Trying to find a way to get the poke. Can't get the side draft down. Does have some drafting help, though. Bradley Hawley is, with this caution in the conversation, watching as Kalin tries to stuff it for second.
Pretty good run off of the corner right there, side by side. Robert Barney's getting a bit of a shove with the air from Lowendick, who's getting a shove from Jeff Evans. There's a name up front. Man, and many drivers and many people feel like Jeff Evans, the driver who probably should be in, had that moment a couple weeks ago at Phoenix where we thought he was going to be in and just came up a little bit short. And, unfortunately for Jeff, but this would be a great send-off to the regular season for Jeff if he can stay up here in the top 5, top 6 all night long.
Still going to be important to be able to get clear here if you're Kalin, to be able to have a chance. Regan Jr., your contact yet again. Oh, and we do have contact. One of the Adams machines. Taking the 12. Hard contact point. Adams, wrong way around, is letting it coast around. No yellow flag, though. Morgan turns it around also.
Morgan coming back this week after missing last week due to no internet access. Back on the track. He tracks up. And I don't know there was actually contact there. I don't like to use the word net code. I know it's an often overused term that's not accurate, but I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't see it.
Now, as a result,
maybe, you know what?
Yeah, there's the contact there.
Hold on, caution.
Oh no, Mark Kalen's around on the back straightaway. Caution flag is now out as Kalen saves it. He was going for the lead.
We'll wait and see what happened here to Mark Kalen when the replay loads up, but this is heartbreaking. This is going to be difficult to overcome if you're Mark Kalen, and let's watch it here. Was going for the lead. It was actually up to the lead. And from that angle, it's hard to tell who came up and who came down, JP. We need a better angle of it. But, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and Kalen did get a little bit of rear damage, maybe, from, yeah, right here. They're side by side. That is where the damage comes from.
It is.
Just about clear for the lead.
That's so close, and who moves where. We need to probably watch it from the nose of Richard Regan and see what we can think happened. And that won't even be the perfect use. It'll be a steady cam from Regan, but it'll help us determine maybe who moves up and who moves down. Watch to the right side of your, well, there's the left side. There's Mark Kalen. He's going to get a small bump right there. I don't know, JP. That's so close, buddy. I feel like maybe it's a tick on Regan, but I don't know.
Yeah, there was some air in between them, it almost looks like. And it ends up sparking another yellow flag here. Well, keep in mind, this is going to make things really interesting for the fuel mileage here. Might become a one stop the rest of the way because of the time at the caution flag. So this, see a few people indeed top off, get some fuel, and sort themselves out here, Derrick.
Well, you know, as pit stops are happening here, JP, we're watching a lot of drivers who are going to come down and they're going to take fuel. And you're right, this is going to help that topic of fuel mileage racing, isn't it? And we'll watch them come down pit road. So what we did, we got a chance to sit down with all the Final Fours. We already looked at our interview with Mark Kalen. Let's now take a second and step back, and let's look at the interview we did with Bradley Holly.
Eventful, I guess you can say. Some has had some luck this year and had to make some difficult decisions stewarding, and I would say it's successful, given my average finish, honestly. Probably the highlights would be my wins at the road courses this year. That's been pretty. I've been pretty proud of that. And then, I guess, where did I win? I think it was New Hampshire or Milwaukee Mile, one of the flat tracks that I was pretty proud of, and just trying to be consistent has been my goal, and trying to keep up with Richard, which is a tall task. Probably Watkins Glen. That was a race that I practiced for a long time, put a lot of effort in, and it made myself feel good on that one. Trying to figure out strategies. You know, if we have cautions that line up to where it's a fuel mileage race or it turns into a tire race, it's gonna be difficult to make that decision. I mean, just like we had not issues with how different it was at Michigan, I have a feeling it's going to be like that here at Auto Club this week, and making the right choices is going to put myself in contention is going to be key. So when I get to it, when I get to practicing, I'm going to put in a bunch of time trying to figure out fuel mileage, what the tire wear is, and what tire fall off is. Relief. Oh, we've all been racing hard, and uh hey, there's my wife. Just finding out if I get a little bit of luck this season to get the win, and basically knowing that I'm going to have a nice break coming from stewarding and from racing for a couple months will be kind of nice. Especially with everything that's gone on in my personal life, I would like to have a nice break to reset.
So there's the interview we did with Bradley Holly, getting he took a time a couple months ago before starting to get into his final practice for the Final Four. And there he is up in P2, moved up already 18 spots on the night, JP. This is an incredible run here by Bradley Holly. From someone who did not qualify well, I'm sure he was frustrated. This has got to feel a big relief.
Yep, absolutely. The cautions have absolutely helped him. Caution's definitely going to change things up with the fuel strategy. Kalen kind of forced on it with the caution situation. But everybody else about to see where things go. But as we go on here for this field, at the very least, Bradley Holly able to maybe set himself, as he noted there, get a chance to take a break for the stewarding if he gets himself the championship here. It would add to a legacy he built up when it comes to PRL, where he was basically just about one of the winningest drivers of all time there, according to the Truck Series and its Cup Series at the time. The driver that was keeping up with him in pace is right in front of him.
Yeah, Richard Regan Jr., you're right about that. And Ted Lowendick is charging there from P3. But, as we watch that interview, JP, I was curious in your thoughts on it. It's almost like you could see I'm sure it was nerves, if it was fatigue, if it was just stress. He mentioned, I'm looking forward to some time off, but there was just something different about that interview, right? Just kind of I don't know if he felt unsure. I don't know if you noticed it. It just felt like a very different interview from the Mark Kalen interview.
Yeah, to me, it was about trying to make sure he thought about his words, I think, because obviously he's been around for a long time. It's an opportunity to be able to speak, but also want to make sure he got the message across that I think he was trying to put to Gary. Not wanting to sound too cocky. That's not his personality type. That's not his driving style. Wanting to make sure he explained things as much on point, I think, as possible. I don't think it was anything in terms of shyness or anything. It was just a matter of, for him, making sure he was well-focused, because he's always a well-focused driver in the first place.
You're right. It's not about being shy, because if you know Bradley Holly, if you've hung out in any Discord call with Bradley Holly for more than 42 seconds, he's not a shy guy. He'll tell you what he thinks, and he'll have a good time and laugh with you. So you're right. It's not about being shy at all. And boy, who's also not shy tonight is Robert Barney. Back in P3, I'm super impressed. He's having a great run all night long here. It's Regan, Holly, Barney, Lowendick, Jeff Evans, your top 5 right now. So this has been a fun race so far, JB. A couple of cautions, but boy, look at all the racing happening. Boy, look at that. It's 8 or 9 cars right there all over each other.
Now, all staying close as a result of the caution sequences and, of course, the restarts. On your contact, and there we go! Thomas Sink gets spun around on the front straightaway. That looked like that was inevitable with how hard the contact was getting down the front. Bonk goes Sink. We're under caution.
Boy, just barely got the wall there, maybe. It was pretty good. I thought he had it stopped, but, under caution for the 3rd time here at Michigan. And you're right, with how hard they were racing, how close that pack was, that felt sort of just inevitable. You can almost feel it coming. Can you watch again here towards the middle of your screen? And right there it is.
Right down to the inside. Bam. That doesn't really damage the truck, but it surely costs the track position. But is surely not the name brand you're thinking of, peanut butter cup machine.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Probably more peanut butter chunks now than peanut butter cups, you'd have to argue.
I guess you could say. But I'm curious where the strategy is now going to lie here as a result of how this is going to fare out, because obviously with the caution flags, I think the fuel mileage is muted. It's a one-stopper regardless. But do you take the risk and make sure you have a tire split difference? We are talking already 15 laps. Some of the drivers are already turning about 4 or 5 green flag laps per set here so far, depending on the split. Remember, there are only 3 sets total for the race, and it looks like Nicholas Schwartzmantel is going to top off, and some of the others in the back. Everybody else stays on track.
I like the word you used, which is risk, because it is a risk, right? The risk about taking tires here is if it stays green, quote unquote, ... you have newer tires. So I like the word risk. While we're under caution, though, JP, let's get into our third interview. This is a shorter one than the rest of them. Let's go ahead and catch up with Ted Lowendick and see how he felt about his 2025 PSR season.
I'd say it's been up and down. I've had races where I've, had good races, had good speed, and then I've had races where I've had to come from the back because the previous week I caused a caution and kind of like shot myself in the foot. And I think last week at COTA, I showed that on road courses I've got a lot of great pace and can be in contention for wins there. And the few times I've had road course opportunities this year, I've had to start at the back because I've shot myself in the foot the previous week. So it's been a fun season. It's been a fun year. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything else to add to it other than it's just being consistent and shooting myself in the foot have been kind of the theme for the year. I'll string some good races together and then I'll do something stupid. So
Yeah, JP, it's interesting to me, and when we did that interview, that just shooting himself in the foot, that was the theme that Ted kind of focused on as we talked throughout the night a little bit there, and his highlights, that was the theme he kept coming back to, and you could tell that he knows that he has that perplexity to do it, and he's just trying to focus on not doing it.
Yeah, and tonight he's done at least well enough to stay away from the chances at that. So at this point, he's done the job. The tough part is, though, the 2 drivers that have battled for a long time are battling again. It's going to take a bit of a different strategy point maybe to try and get enough of an advantage over the 56 to the 184 here, as they are right now with their averages when they're at race pace within the same tenth of a second. It's going to be interesting to see where things fare out off this restart.
It is interesting, man. There's so many things changing. Richard Regan has moved to the bottom lane, by the way, compared to running the top earlier on the restart. Bradley Holly's up here now in P2. Then you got a little bit of gap now before you find the other 2 drivers. You get Ted Lundick back in P5, and of course Mark trying to work his way back through in P16. So a lot has changed about halfway through the race.
Here we go, restart time, and once again, RBM in sync. 2 teammates able to jump down as Holly falls back to 3rd. Holly will have to go back to work to be able to have an opportunity. Lowendick actually gave him a little bit of a shove. By the way, Kalen on this restart already back to 11 on his charge. Look at Kalen back there 3 wide. 4 wide almost. 4 wide it is.
There's best of the rest driver Mike Toomer Jr. back in the 4 wide. He's risking that run. That is Nicholas Acosta, who's fighting with Mike Toomer. He's up there. That means that right now Acosta must have reclaimed the lead for best of the rest, I would have to assume, because he came in 9 points to the good. In fact, he has, JP. Look at that. So Acosta's back up there. In fact, Zach Williams and Mike Toomer. This is the 3 guys side by side by side, 3 wide. They're battling for that free entry next year.
Yep, a hard battle right now as Toomer Jr. clears in front of Acosta. He needs a few spots, though, at least. He needs a bit of luck. As
Hold on,
another
Rocky.
driver spins, another
Schwartz.
one. James Morgan also collected with Colton Lane.
Boy, oh boy.
And
I saw
Brad-
Schwartz going around first. I don't know what started that.
Bradley Hawley just came over the radio and said, we have to give each other room. So race control is starting to get into the messaging of this field where they need to keep it clean. Well,
Oh,
no, they aren't.
no, Morgan, pardon me, just came up and hit Schwartz, and then Colton Lane is just a bystander. I mean, that's part of the racing here, right, with how these lanes are and how you drift up, unfortunately. So we're under caution yet again. Watch again. Morgan's just going to drift up out of the corner, gets in the back end of Schwartz, send him on around. Again, Colton Lane just on for the ride. That right there, you see some required repairs from James Morgan. That's his second wreck of the night, JP. I wonder if that's going to be the end of the night for James Morgan. Well, we're seeing the replays, and I'm curious. I mean, we keep talking about how this was a fuel strategy race, but we keep having so many cautions. It's almost hard to believe that anyone's going to be short on fuel.
Yeah. So, at this point, cautions, precautions, precautions. 53 estimated to go, and it's going down, Derrick.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know, JP. I think who pits here and who doesn't has to do with your spot on the track. Now, I might be wrong, but if I was Richard Regan, if I was any of those guys up front, they're going to come down. I'm surprised. Wow, Regan pits. Did I see Holly stay out? I think I did. So this is going to be a very mixed strategy for your Final Four.
I'm not sure how this is going to work. It depends on if we get more caution flags, quite simply. If we get more caution flags, Derrick, strategy simplified. You can make it. But if you don't get cautious precautions, this is a bit more of a gamble because you're talking about having to stretch in 33 minutes, which would be estimated at least by the time we get back going 45-ish laps. You're hoping to be at the top of the fuel tank at best.
So the flip side of that counterpoint is that if this stays green, we just watched the 56 put brand new tires on that truck. So he's hoping this stays green, I would think. He wants us to stay green so he can have the benefit of those tires and run back through the field, knowing everyone would likely have to pit again, you know, who at least stayed out, I would think. So he's hoping this stays green, I think, which is sort of the interesting way to look at that. But what I want to look at now, JP, is our Miracle Flow team update. We start at the easiest spots. We start at number 1 with Bradley Hawley. Brad, one of your Final Four drivers, as you said, a very successful driver across all of league racing. We watched his interview earlier. Well, now here he is back up front in P number 1. You move back into P3. We find Jeff Evans. You described him as a long tenured member of these leagues. I describe him as the heart and soul of Whataback Racing. A lot of what happens, the social media presence, the general hangout, the vibe of Whataback Racing runs through Jeff Evans. Again, I thought he was going to be one of the Final Four drivers after that race at Phoenix, JP, but here he sits, P number 3. We look back through the field to find our next driver, and I think it's Nicholas Schwartz, who's on pit road, and Doug Evans not here tonight. So Schwartz involved in that incident, and a hard night for him to see if he can recover from that moment. You know, this Miracle Flow team update is obviously brought to you by Miracle Flow. And Miracle Flow is more than hair care. It is built for the bold. Founded in Rochester, New York back in 2015, Miracle Flow was created to elevate both your look and your lifestyle. They're made in the USA and crafted for real performance. It's trusted by those who are ready to show up, whether it's a game night with the boys or a night out on the town. No shortcuts, no gimmicks, just results. Miracle Flow, because your flow isn't just style, it's a statement. You know, JP, if we could try to write a tagline for this race tonight, no shortcuts, no gimmicks, just results, that kind of describes the Final Four battle.
Yep, and now we see where the battle takes us as fuel strategy may start to come into play here if we do not get a caution run. If it goes green, boy, will this get interesting for a lot of these competitors now. But it's Bradley Holly up front, would have to pit in less than 20 laps or so, basically around the 20-minute mark or so, with Ted Lowendick alongside. Green, 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 back on our way. Not as big of a jump this time since there wasn't a teammate behind for the count per se. And it looks like Evans stays about even with the Lowendick.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. So here's Lowendick now. He's going to fight side by side with Evans. That's going to be another truck on the bottom. Is that Mark Kalin back to the front already? A driver who was spun around earlier. I thought maybe had his chances at a title spun away from him. But here he is back in the fight, JP.
Taking the opportunity with the track position to see where things shake up for him. Right now, has a little bit of a cycle difference compared to everyone else around him by at least 7 laps. It's going to be a little bit helpful for later on the fuel stints as he works with Evans to try and push them forward here. Just less than 46 laps is the estimate. Look at Toomer Jr. taking it 3 wide. He's been aggressive all night.
Now they're 3 wide back through here. And you see these trucks starting to wobble around. Just people moving the lanes. They're not exactly consistent. It's getting a little sketch out here on the track, whether it's just how hard drivers are pushing, whether the track is changing, I don't know. Here's Richard Regan Jr. He's pushing. He's trying to get back through here. He's already up in the P10, maybe P9 by now, JP. He knows there's no time to burn. Remember, he's the first of the drivers on new tires. Oh, here comes Thomas Stink right ahead. These two have made contact before, and right now all is good. But look at that. Just like this, Regan has already caught up to Mark Kalin.
That shows the fresher tires, but also just the speed of Regan Jr. Slide on by as you see him dialed in his VR headset. Focused on making these moves as quick as possible here. Just see that speed difference in the corners in particular. Plus the draft effect is so big on iRacing in general.
Yeah, I think it's the speed difference and the ability to kind of grip that corner right now with those new tires. It's allowing Regan just to have that difference on the track. So you watch him here. He's trying to be patient. He's trying to make sure he gets around these drivers. There's Jeff Evans. He's going to pass. Evans is going to kind of squeeze him up against the wall, but they're all good. Oh, there's some call contact ahead. You got to check up right here if you're Regan and not run over Thomas Sink, who scrubs some speed off.
Yep, right there through the middle. Junior, second of the championship. Up front, it's Hawley and Adams for the lead. Brett Adams specifically. Look at Hawley. He takes the point, but Regan Jr.'s quicker. Big block behind us. Adams has problems. Adams hard left. Adams is sliding on through into the Wonko sink. Chaos reigns as Adams stumps in the grass.
No caution. He's down below track. He's now towed, and he is off the track. Thomas Sink is slow. We'll keep an eye on that. But everything is still moving. These guys are just moving around so much, JP. It takes one small error to create a moment like that. There's Regan now passing Bradley Holly. That is for the lead. That's how fast he made up 11 spots on new tires. That is amazing.
Yeah. Oh, that's why Sink was in the wall trying to close the door, and he ends up slamming hard on the brakes. Actually slams the wall for good measure. That's the second Adams machine involved in an incident. This keeps us green though.
JP, I am stunned by Richard Regan Jr. I knew those new tires were going to pay off. I didn't think they'd pay off that quick. But he's already worked his way back to the front of the field and is already now putting almost a half a second between himself and the rest of the Final Four. This is more dominant than I thought it would be.
Yeah, meanwhile, keep in mind, look how close things are for the best of the rest per the estimations. Toomer Jr. with what he's doing, 1 point up over Nicholas Acosta. Acosta needs to make passes. He cannot afford to just keep remaining at the back. He's now got the switchback as Toomer Jr. lost ground.
Yep. So right now, if you're Acosta, you want to be 1 point to the good. You don't want to leave it up to the tiebreakers. Those are awful ways to do it. But right now, you see how close those two are racing, moment by moment. Meanwhile, up front is Richard Regan Jr. He has a bit of a gap over Bradley Holly, Ted Lowendick, and Mark Kalin, as this top lane is proving dominant all night long here at Auto Club. And drivers are searching, they're moving, they're trying to find a groove. But right now, they're just all California dreaming, hoping to find a new way around the track.
Everyone trying to sail their way around, coming to 40 to go. Checking on the cameras once again. Holly up on the wheel. Right now, Lowendick laser focused. Calmly focused for the other two as they go. You can see Regan Jr. doing some adjustments.
Two hands on the wheel at all times, please. But you're right. I'm kind of joking around. He's trying to probably make some adjustments, maybe to a brake bias, to really get this truck dialed in for the rest of the run here.
Check fuel.
Notice, maybe check his fuel. You're right. But what I noticed from the two drivers, we can see their wheels, which is the two on the right, screen right. That is Regan and Holly. You see Holly already having a bit of a voice chat there, kind of saying what he needs to say. But both look pretty steady in their wheels. You and I both focus a lot on that in our commentary. Regan's moving that wheel more than Holly is.
See the difference just on the way drivers' comfortability is when it comes to some of these driving styles, absolutely. But all this as well continue to chug along. Well, right now, Kalen Amunzo's up high side, majority of the field now moving up there, back to their comfort levels. But keep in mind, outside of Regan Jr., you also have Zachary Burton making his way through. You have Barney cutting his way through. You have Gagnon cutting through. All drivers on fresher tires that have surprisingly not made as much ground up as I thought they would have by now.
Yeah, it is very different, right? Isn't it, between Regan and what everyone else has done here? So we'll wait and see how this plays out. And of course, if you're Richard Regan, he probably knew he needed to be more aggressive, right? He knew he needed to get up there and make something happen quickly, just in case. But the rest of these drivers just kind of hanging back. There's Jeff Evans going to get a small bump from Thomas Sink as they're both trying to avoid Zachary Burnt, who got up in the wall. And they're going to get around that just fine. All is good. We'll keep racing here with about 25 minutes to go. A lot of people get to know Richard Regan on track, JP, because of when we see him race here in PSR on Green Flag TV. But you and I got to hang out with him for about 2.5 hours on Sunday night. I think what people don't know is how big of a nerd he is for racing. He joined us in commentary for the Blazing Pedals ARCA Series finale. He was only going to hang out for a stage or two, and he got so wrapped up in the race, just like you and I did, that he hung out for all 2.5 hours. He loves good classic racing. If Richard Regan could watch this race right here as a spectator, there would be a grin on his face for how good this is.
Yeah, this has been a fun one, I think, for him, where he's ended up leading 46 laps once again here tonight. Still, though, some of the fresher tire drivers making their way through, like Barney. So, speaking of which, with Richard Regan Jr., got the opportunity to speak with him during the week as well. Why don't we take the opportunity to listen to what he had to say? With 24 minutes left, here's Regan Jr.
I think my year so far in 2025 for sim racing's been pretty good. We got, I think, 13 wins on the year so far. So we got a lot of momentum going into the Final Four. We obviously were the first to lock in, so been putting a lot of time into that. So just definitely excited to see what the last race brings. I think the highlight for me, honestly, was season one. I think we won like 5 races in season one, so that was pretty cool. Obviously got the season 1 drivers championship, and and then I don't know, it's been difficult season trying to keep the momentum. We got a lot of guys in the series now that are starting to gain momentum, and it's great to see everyone getting improving better and getting faster every week. So definitely excited to see what happens. I think the biggest challenge for me on Wednesday nights right now is just trying to manage myself throughout the long run. It's getting easier to push a little harder earlier, especially with the tracks that we've had lately. So I think, just trying to anchor down on my tire management a little bit better would be something that I'm looking to improve. And honestly, everyone getting better every week. Mark Kalen's been getting super fast all year long. Bradley Holly's always fast, and 10 Lowen Deck. He's pretty new to oval racing, so he's very aggressive but very smart driver. So it's going to be a good battle all night long. Yeah, I think the moment's going to be crazy. It's pretty hard to win championships, especially with the current format, with the winner takes all in the last race. I'm personally not the biggest fan of that, but it's the cards that we're all dealt with, and we all have to deal with them accordingly. And I think my attitude, if that happens, is going to be very crazy. It's a lot of work all year long. It goes down to one race. And there's a lot of things that can happen in that race, whether it be a late race caution or, get involved in an incident. One of the things that's very different with these, racing playoffs is it's not just you versus the guys that are still in the playoffs. It's you versus everyone on the track. So a lot of things have to go right. And I'm putting a lot of focus into that. And, I think I'll be very energetic if I can come home with the championship.
Pit window is open in the midst of the conversation. You can see the pit stops that built themselves up here as drivers come down for one of their many pit stops. Holly got a massive jump compared to some of the others, but Regan Jr. amongst those down pit road this time.
That's the one that surprised me the most, JP, of all the pit stops. We knew they were coming, but Regan pitting right here surprises me. Remember, he pitted under our last caution and put the tires on and got gas. I thought for sure he was going to try and stretch this out and just kind of hold on to a lead on the track. So I'm a little surprised he's down pit road. Obviously, he has his own strategy, and we'll see where he tracks out compared to the rest of the Final Four here. Because Bradley Holly, as you hinted, had an amazing run off of pit road. So we need to wait and see where this all kind of cycles out and who pits where and who comes out where and so on and so forth. So that was the last of our Final Four interviews right there, JP. That was Richard Regan Jr., of course. And here comes Bradley Holly, who's now racing the aforementioned Richard Regan Jr. And Holly on around with ease as Regan's still getting up to speed. 1 lap difference on tires, running just equal at this moment. But JP, now that we've done all 4 interviews, is there any takeaways you have from Regan's interview or from anyone else that kind of stood out to you?
Major takeaway, I think, is just the hunger that a lot of these drivers definitely have to be able to try and win this championship. Change up front for the net championship lead. Regan Jr. just made the pass on the high side. He zipped around Holly like it was nothing in 1 and 2. Able to jump ahead. It's Regan Jr., Holly, Lowendick, Kalen. Now for your championship 4 order with several drivers attempting to stretch it.
And something that stood out to me right there, you saw on the top of your screen a second ago, fastest lap, Ted Lowendick, I saw right there, a 40.017. So he is trying to see if he can put himself relevant in this conversation with Mark Kalen right in tow. Now remember, due to pit cycles, these guys are not technically your leaders. That's Zachary Burnt, Matt Gagnon, and Jamie Graham. That likely will cycle around eventually. But right now, this is the battle for the championship. But the battle for the race is way different. Let's watch a replay here of Thomas Sink from a little bit ago. This was when we're watching that interview with Richard Regan. And he gets a little bit of contact right there from that black and purple truck. And up on the wall he goes. And I think that's going to cause possibly the call it a night for Thomas Sink.
Yep, indeed it did. Sink's been down pit road for the past 3 minutes. But Regan Jr. is starting to separate for the rest of the championship 4. He's got short run speed, we know that, and 1 lap fresher tires than everybody else on the strategy call. So he's got that advantage at a track where those advantages are all the more pivotal. Keep in mind, 26 estimated laps to go at the stripe here. At this point, everybody else, in theory, may and very likely not be able to make it here with how things are looking here so far.
Yeah, I would agree with that completely. Now, what I notice here now is you have Richard Regan, who's got about a 3/10 of a second lead. Then we've got these other drivers. Is it that Holly's falling back, or did Holly kind of lay back to get a run with Lowendick and Kalen to make one massive run at Richard Regan? It has felt odd to me that maybe Bradley Holly backed that truck up a little bit, see if he could get some assistance and maybe get out of that dirty air of Richard Regan. So I don't know if that's going to be the case. We'll wait and find out. But right now it's Holly, Lowendick, and Kalen 2, 3, and 4. Here's a battle for the race lead, JP. This is what's going on right now. This is Matt Gagnon up front. He's leading some laps tonight. Remember, he last pitted on lap 44. So I agree with you. Unless a couple cautions happen, I don't see a way Matt Gagnon doesn't have to pit here.
Trying to break the toe. Didn't see him last time out, but Gary Machine, also one-time team member. You can see him just laser focused, getting to push an Outlap Motorsports truck. But right now, he's just indicating on the radio he's coming in now, leaving himself a runway to be able to recover some of this time. Zach Williams has also indicated he'll come down as Graham close to the bumper as he faked it out. Gagnon said, I'm coming this time, and didn't come down with Toomer Jr. zipping through.
I wonder if he got nervous about, I wonder if he got nervous by Jamie Graham. And I'm not that Jamie Graham did anything wrong per se, but I think he got nervous about Graham getting behind him and possibly running him over. And I think he just sort of, aborted the plan there is what may have happened. So we'll wait and see if Gagnon comes in next time, or hey, maybe he really was faking out. I don't know how that'll work. Here's Mark Canley. He's up top. He's going to try and make up some ground and see what he can make happen. Kaelin got spun earlier in this race, and while racing hard with Richard Regan Jr., they're now going to pass by Ted Lowendick. And boy, this right here, this is picture perfect, isn't it, JP? A Final Four battle. No need to go searching for them. They're all right here packed together.
Yep, everyone trying to figure out a way to close up. I don't think the fallback to work as a giraffe train strategy is as the way to go. They are at 10, maybe quicker, but you can see it there. Kale is the quickest out of all of them, and is now looking to make a bit of a pass. That's going to slow up that whole pack right there, as the 14 did come down this time. They all move up a slot, and the 62 moves to second of the championship.
I got to think right now, if you're Kaelin, Lowendick, or Holly, you might be hoping there's a caution coming. I don't know. Here's Mark Kinley. He's trying to rip the outside wall. He's trying to make something happen. He's up to P2. Last time by, he was just a smidge, in fact, maybe a smidge slower than our championship leader in Richard Regan Jr. So we'll wait and see how this plays out right now. But it feels like right now, this is Richard Regan's race. It just has that feeling, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And right now, it's going to take a lot of effort to get to the 56. See that interval in the corners going up by a 10th already in 1 and 2 alone. That's how good he is pushing right now. You see the interval difference Kaelin had compared to him, though. See where things go net the next few minutes as we're coming down the home stretch here.
By the way, of note, currently through these pit cycles, P2, Zach Williams. He came into tonight 9 points back on the best of the rest. If he's riding in P2, JP, that's what I thought. He right now in this moment is in the lead. That said, though, he's in the lead because I believe Acosta and Toomer Toomer pitted on lap 63. He just pitted a couple laps ago. Acosta's somewhere in the same boat, lap 64. So well, whenever Zach Williams has to pit, he'll likely surrender that lead in those points.
Yep, exactly. That point swing would, in theory, see Acosta actually with the net advantage. That's because Toomer Jr. with the cycle is only about 12th right now. He lost a little bit of ground net. Some of the others has been the greatest of runs to end off the day for the 42. As it looks like Lane is coming down this time. Yes, he is. So Colton Lane, he only went 30 laps on his run. 12 minutes to go on the season, less than 20 laps to play with. You see the outside still for Kalen. Regan Jr. just about having the chance to break the draft as here comes Holly again.
Yep, here comes Holly. He's going to try to run to the inside, and Mark Kalen wiggled, so now they're both going to give a little bit more space to Richard Regan Jr. And we'll see how that gap opens up, as it almost opened up right there with a little bit of contact. So now it's Holly to the inside, Kalen to the outside, Ted Lowendick riding along. And these guys need to get it figured out, JP. They are giving up second by second, tenth of a second by tenth of a second to Richard Regan the more they race this way.
At this point, they're just fighting it out for championship spots. Lowendick comes on through. Kalen drops to the back of the championship four order. As a result, Zach Williams in this time, by the way. That leaves just Loving, Schwartz, and Lawrence out there on the track. We're all running 42-second lap times off of more than 2.2 seconds in terms of what they've done right here. Holly needs to dig if he wants to close last time by. 3/10 off the pace of truck 56.
And if you're the 56, I think the biggest fear you have right now, JP, with respect, is Loving, Schwartz, and Lawrence. They've been on this track for a while. Those tires have worn off. It takes just one bad corner, one slip, one slide, and if any of those trucks go around, it erases the lead that the 56 has. So the 56 is probably hoping and praying and begging and pleading whatever he can inside his head for Loving, Schwartz, and Lawrence to get down pit road. Get those new tires in, guys. Let's not risk this, because the last thing he wants is to give up this gap he's formed, which is now over a second.
It's Regan's championship to lose at this point. The way things are shaping up, but there's still 10 minutes in this one. Less than 15 estimated laps to decide a champion here from California. By the way, everything's cycled for the air battle. Williams is in front of Toomer, rather in front of Acosta. Toomer Jr. holding on to the top 10 here. Give effort, though, to everybody a part of this season. Ted Lowendick putting up a phenomenal effort in the past couple weeks, especially trying to get the outside to see if he can take away second here. Nothing's doing, but he'll try something to the inside this time. To the inside of the 184, Lowendick clears on through an apex.
And not just this season. You're right, give kudos for this season, JP, but give kudos for the year of PSR. I was doing my stat count earlier in the day. There's been at least 9 different winners inside PSR in 2025. Numerous different drivers with fastest laps and poles and race wins and everything in between. Yes, maybe that first season was dominated by the 56 truck, but this league has come alive in performance and had an incredible year. Different drivers, different teams have cycled through, lots of great battles, lots of great moments here live on Green Flag TV. They've had an incredible run. We're coming back for 2026. Heck, we're coming back for the Winter Series, a much different look for PSR in a couple weeks. So lots of cool stuff still to happen for PSR. And you know what? Speaking of cool stuff upcoming, JP, here on Green Flag TV, catch this. Right now on the other side of Green Flag TV, the Beer League is live at Fuji. We'll head there after this race is over. But Friday night, the Zero Torque Racing League heads over to Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Then on Saturday, you and I will be there for the FTR Trophy AI Series at Sebring. That's a 4-hour endurance race. The Velocity Online Racing League has their season finale at Phoenix Raceway at 3 p.m. And then the SRA, the Sim Racing Association, goes to Echo Park Speedway. And then Sunday, it's the Classic IndyCar Series. And those Classic Indy cars for a full-length Indy 500. Then Tuesday night, the Mars Minical Racing Series with Talladega Super Speedway. And we'll wrap it up then with the GR86 Pace League at Thruxton in about 10 days from now. Did any kind of racing you want, JP? It feels like it's represented on that schedule.
It's a busy schedule. There's not too much downtime, to say the very least, right now. Very curious how things go for CIS on Sunday in particular. But it's going to be a fun time to see how things fare out over the course of the weekend here on Green Flag TV. Just about everybody's gone through the cycle. The last of the drivers has just pit. The 88 is in to close out the window. And everybody is good on fuel here. Lowendick, no changes in the battle for second. Kalen losing touch as he's burnt up his stuff with his push attempt to try and stay up in front. It's not worked out for him as Lowendick runs the middle.
You know, I said earlier that I thought the best thing for the 56, which is Richard Regan, just in the bottom right of your screen, would have been for those cars to pit. Now I'm thinking to myself, for Lawrence, likely, not enough time to take tires on that car. You're likely gas only to get to the finish of this race. You know, I hope he makes it okay, and I'm not trying to be negative, but if you're the 56, those are the things you're worried about, is now how does Doyle Lawrence's truck react with more gas and old tires? Is Mark Killen about to screw up the wall? So again, if you're the 56, you need this to stay green for about another 6 minutes or so you don't have to have one final battle for this race. If you're Lowendick, if you're Holly, if you're Kalen, likely the only hope you have is that this doesn't stay green. And heck, JP, with how big this track is and how long these pace laps are, it needs to happen soon if it's going to happen.
Definitely needs to be for some of these drivers. But the championship is coming up to a closing run on this season. Keep in mind, the series did announce that there is plans for an off-season series, a free winter series, compared to the usual rotation where, remember, during the PRL days, it'd be season 1 following the iRacing schedule, season 2, season 3. There's an off-season schedule for 5 races coming up in December and January instead of, say, just going straight to that season 1 that you would normally see.
And it's all free content, JP. It's going to be some fun, silly races. So it's going to be here on Green Flag TV, much shorter races. We'll have them on Wednesday night starting in, I believe, December 3rd to be the first date. So I'm excited to see what that can produce as Mark Kalen's getting way up against that wall, buddy. But yeah, that'll be fun for those guys. And then the plans I think I might have heard roughly is PSR as we know it may not start again until right around NASCAR start time. So we'll wait and see when we can announce a new season of Premier Sim Racing and whatever form that may be. Here's Mark Kalen. He's going to try and wrangle in Bradley Holly. But again, Richard Regan has his pulled away here and is just dominating right now.
Doing what you expect from him. You can see Regan Jr. comfortable, poised, confident. And he's only a few laps away from a championship here in 2025. Just to give it a focus. You can see him just checking everything and making sure everything's stable. Have to make sure no technical issues. Nothing goes wrong here for him. You mentioned some of those technical gremlins earlier in the year.
You know, it's funny, you know, when he hung out with us on Sunday in commentary, I asked him privately, I said, hey, Rich, watching this Final Four battle in Blazing Pedals, does it give you anxiety? Does it make you nervous? And he said, nah, that happened last year when I lost the title. So right now, he's very aware of everything, I'm sure. He knows how much time is left. He knows he's got the lead. He's hoping nothing, a caution doesn't happen. He knows where he is. He knows how close he was 1 year ago. He knows how much it meant to him. And he knows how bad he wants it right now.
For another title for a Wednesday night series, stretch back to the PRL era. Chance to close things out smoothly with 3:10 to go. By the way, best of the rest Interesting factor. Toomer Jr.'s in the battle with Nick Hunter at the moment. Zach Williams with the cycle is now ahead of the 42. He's bounced back a fair bit. Look at this though. Costa still has the 2-point advantage. So Williams needs to somehow find a lot of time fast. Toomer Jr., he has not gotten enough of an advantage over Acosta to get the scoring he was looking for. Look at the battle for second of the championship. Everybody having some fun to end it out. Right now, 3 wide, Molodic in front. Kalen shuffles to third in the championship. Holly tries to battle back.
Yeah, trying to battle back. And these guys now are just racing for pride. They're racing for fun. They're all sharing the same Discord room, part of Whataback racing together. I'm guessing the mood in there is jovial but bittersweet. They're having fun racing, but I'm sure they wish that it was a little closer than it is right now. You know, let's do this. I want to hear the call, JP, of Reese Bogue. Reese Bogue is Richard Regan's spotter, and I think Reese is going to kind of walking through these last couple of laps here. So let's go ahead, and we're going to pull in Reese Bogue and let Reese walk Rich through the last couple of laps as we sit back and listen to the calls of a spotter.
Coming to about 2 to go right here. Still about 1.9 seconds out back. No pressure. Just keep doing what you're doing. I need a few more perfect laps from you. I know you're pulling away, but don't get lazy on me right here. That lap was a 03 to his 14. Still way better than them right here. So by 2 seconds.
All right, JP, 2 laps to go this time. We're listening to Reese Bogue live here, and you hear the words of Reese Bogue. He'll walk in through the last lap and a half here. Likely, I'm guessing, possibly white flag this time, JP.
10-4 on that, Rich. Come back to 2 to go right here. Clear by 2.5 seconds out back right now. Now by 2.6. I seen a couple more laps out of here right here coming to 2. We got this far. Just keep it under you right here. Still clear by 2.6 out back. Last lap was a 05 to his 58. We are literally half a second a lap better than them right now. No mistakes. Should be coming back to a 1 to go.
Going up to the final lap, as mentioned, Regan Jr. just about in position to win a PSR championship. Coming through 3 and 4. Should see white flag. It was within 1 second of the counter last time by.
Look at the hands on the wheel, JP. Fully steady. Looks like the nerves are calm for the moment. Right now,
Still
white
good by
flag.
2.6 out back. White flag. Give me one more lap. One more perfect lap right here, and we got it.
Dominating pace. They've been fighting hard for a second. That's why the interval is just driven up. Robert Barney's actually driven by most of them. That's how heavy the fighting's been getting back there. But for Regan Jr., but staying poised for one more set of corners once again as they crash for third. They'll battle.
Here we are, buddy.
Behind.
2025 PSR Truck Series champions. Heck yeah.
Richard Regan Jr. gets the PSR Outlap Motorsports Truck Series Championship for 2025.
Oh, buddy, see all the there's the emotion. I was waiting for it from Rich. The clap of the hands, the small celebration. I'm sure there's more to come. See all those stickers up on his right shoulder, or I guess his left shoulder, our right side? There'll be one more right there that says champion pretty soon.
At the regular season best of the rest standings here, Nicholas Acosta does hold on, Derrick. 2 points the difference. Unofficial is that total, keep in mind. Zach Williams needed 5 seconds to get to the points he needed to get. Obviously couldn't dig that in less than a few minutes.
No, definitely could not, unfortunately. You see all the drivers come around. Going to give a little congratulatory bump to your champion. He'll come down to the front straight here at Auto Club, and he'll burn it down in celebration. This is going to feel good if you're Richard Regan.
Good chance for celebration as some of the team members come in and join him on the congratulations. Another championship for the 56 tonight.
Boy, I talked to him in an interview this week, and he's talked about how he missed out last week. And you heard just all the stories about how just it came down to a late caution last year, and it just wasn't meant to be. This year it stays green for a long time, and that Neonism 56 finds his way to both the race win and the championship win in 2025. Watching burn it down, JP. He'll burn it down for a long time. This will be a big celebration for Richard Regan Jr.
Big celebration for RBM tonight. Of course, they're in the midst of the team championship also. See how things fare out by the end for that too. But let's take a look at your race results tonight. After a strong performance from the Regan Bogue Motorsports Neon driver, it's another championship with 56, 14 wins in 2025 competition. Bradley Holly second, Kalen in third. As mentioned, there was a bit of carnage for third. Kalen did survive with some bumps and bangs with the wall. Robert Barney snuck in front of Ted Lowendick in the end for the fourth position. Colton Lane finished in 6th tonight. He was involved in a wreck earlier in tonight. Jeff Evans, Matt Gagnon, Jeremy Graham, and Zachary Byrne the top 10 tonight.
Moving back into P11, there's Zach Williams, who pitted late. He's 13 seconds back, and next to the P12 is Nick Connor with Steve Loving, Mike Toomer Jr., and Nicholas Godina back in your top 15. It's then Doyle Lawrence, Nicholas Acosta, and Nicholas Schwartz. Nicholas Acosta last in lead lap, and then Schwartz, Sink, and Adams back through your top 20. These guys did not finish, nor did James Morgan or Blaine Adams in the 22 truck field.
Well, top to bottom of the runner for tonight. That brings us to our post-race show, brought to you by Regan Bogue Motorsports. Speed is just the starting point. Success is built through discipline, focus, and development. At Regan Bogue Motorsports, their iRacing coaching is built to develop winners through one-on-one training. The focus is on the fundamentals that turn fast drivers into champions. Smart racecraft, disciplined decision-making, and pressure-proof performance. This isn't about quick fixes. It's about building a foundation for lasting success. Regan Bogue Motorsports, developed for wins, built for championships. Some of the drivers still taking their time to be able to get ready for the celebrations, Derrick. But a strong effort from your Championship 4, strong effort for the RBM truck. It is, again, Regan Jr. that takes the win. Some of the drivers still taking their time before getting their way up to the booth.
Yeah, and taking their time. This is a long night. This is a lot of prep that went into this, a lot of stress, a lot of nerves. And for Rich Regan, a big moment of celebration. And so much could be said for Rich. I'm sure he'll say a lot. But let's go backwards tonight, JP, in our top 3 interviews. I'll start here, and we'll drag in the driver who had a rough night, Mark Kalen. Mark, you barely got the lead, and some contact maybe between you and Rich, and around the truck went. But you still finished pretty well.
Yeah, got a solid finish. Wasn't the result we were looking for, though, Derrick. So, pretty disappointed. Had a lot more pace in it than what we finished with, and it just sucks, especially when you're fighting that hard to take the lead, and then, well, you get dumped.
Well, you're going to come home tonight, P3 and P3 both in the race and in the championship. Obviously, I can feel the emotion, I can feel the frustration, I can feel the disappointment. But are there any positive takeaways from tonight or from this season?
Yeah, I mean, definitely a lot of improvements were made this season as far as my consistency and performance. So just going to continue to work on that moving forward for next year, and then hopefully come back stronger with a much better chance at winning the championship.
My last question would be, felt like towards the last 5-10 minutes of the race, you guys, all three of you, yourself, Lowe and Dick Hollins, had a hard time. Did you just burn off the tires?
Yeah, so once it got towards the end of the race, and I saw Richard had like a 1.3 second gap, I was like, we're not going to run him down. So I just started getting aggressive with Ted and Brad, try to better myself for my race. I'm sure they didn't appreciate it me doing that so early, but at the end of the day, I gotta do what I gotta do for my sponsors and my team. So had a lot of fun battling with them. Kind of forced Ted into the wall a little bit out of turn 2. I did feel bad about that. Kind of squeezed him. Yeah, I didn't want to. I didn't want to give up the momentum either, because if I'd have lifted, he probably would have run into the back of me too. So it just is kind of like a damned if I do, damned if I don't type of situation. But no, I had a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this season, inaugural season of the Premier Sim Racing League, and looking forward to the future.
All right, buddy. Well, it's always a pleasure watching your race. Anyone you want to give a shout out to or say hello to?
Yeah, absolutely. My mom and dad, first and foremost. Without them, I would not be able to put on a show for you. So thanks, Mom. Thanks, Dad. My wife for sticking with me through thick and thin. This sim sport definitely has a lot of emotions and ups and downs. So she's always there to help me when I'm down, bring me back up again. I want to shout out my sponsor, Lotus Dynamics Designs, coming on for season 4 here. And really happy for them to be able to make it to the championship 4 and finish 3rd in the championship for my sponsor. So, and then of course you guys up in the booth as always, putting on a fantastic show, and all the organizers back at PSR that put on the league.
All right, buddy. Well, and I'm sure we'll see you in a winter series. We'll see you in a couple weeks, but enjoy the time off, and we'll talk soon.
All right, sounds good. Take it easy, guys.
That is Mark Kinlan. He finished P3 tonight, JP. And now I believe you have caught up with our driver who finished P2, and that's Bradley Holly.
It's indeed Bradley Holly coming away in P2 tonight. First things first here, Bradley. Talk to us about the effort to try and power your way to the field in the first place. You start at the back of the field, you get to the front of the end.
Yeah, definitely screwed up qualifying. Not my normal thing to do, but, it happens sometimes, and I took my time and worked my way up and at least got myself in contention.
Yeah, so how tricky is this, or the feelings about coming so close here tonight to the championship at PSR, of course getting second here tonight?
I mean, it's going up against Richard, so it's, I didn't have my hopes up too high. I was definitely banking on one more caution in order to give me and a couple other guys some tired advantage to hopefully change the outcome.
So overall, how would you describe the season as a whole now, with this as the end of that campaign, and of course having that chance now to get a reprieve, as you were discussing during your pre-race interview segment, a chance to reprieve before we get a rotation for the springtime?
I mean, successful season. I got a few wins. I believe I was leading the regular season points before playoffs. Won one or two season championships, won a couple team championships. So I'm pretty happy with the season all in all, and just kind of ready for a break for now to, I guess you can say, mentally reset, especially with my personal life, everything going on there, and just need a break, if that makes sense.
Well, anyone you want to give a shout out to here tonight?
I definitely want to thank you guys for broadcasting us every week. I always enjoy going back and watching the races and listening to what y'all have to say. Everybody in PSR that has put this league together, everybody that has joined and participated in the league. It's been a fun season, a fun year of racing, and can't wait to get a reset and start it all over again next year.
Well, if there's any consolation, I know you're probably not going to like this stat, but if it was a full season championship, you would have gotten to the edge over Regan Jr. But of course, playoffs are a different factor. You come away as second spot. Congrats.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Bradley Holly coming away second in the championship 4 here, Derrick. Consistent season, but 2 seconds back at the very end. We do have the best of the rest standing on by. Joining you, it's Nicholas Acosta, unofficially. Best of the rest, one of your drivers, I believe, from the team side.
Yeah, right. A driver I'm, I guess, familiar with for about 10 years now. Been familiar with. So, Nick, you come home tonight in a good run. You secure best of the rest. It's funny. We talked about superstitions and habits in Discord a couple weeks ago. Has this Wingstop superstition maybe paid off for you?
Yeah, so the Wingstop definitely paid off. The Tabula Rasa Orange 816 did pretty well this season. Wingstop, with Wingstop or no Wingstop. Very excited to end up where I have. I have to, put out just my utmost wishes for how well Zach and Mike raced here. I did make a mistake, and I was just hoping. I was just back there hoping for the end of this race.
Well, I felt like you maybe had a hard qualifying as well. Could have back in the field at first and worked your way through. But you and I talked pre-race about this being a tire conservation race. Was that sort of the theme of the night for you?
Yeah, so I spent a lot of the time the first run just kind of playing around with lifting and hanging back there, just hoping that I could move up, and then we went from there.
Well, typically at this point, JP, what I would ask a driver if we're going to see you in Season 1, but you get a free entry into Season 1, so I think it's guaranteed we'll see you in Season 1.
Yeah, I'll be there.
All right, anyone you want to give a shout-out to or say hello to?
No, again, just wanted to thank the Tabula Rasa team, James Morgan, Jacob Dunn for supporting me tonight. After Morgan had to pull over, he also hopped in to help me out, so it was great.
All right, buddy. Well, congrats on best of rest, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
All right, JP, that leaves just one last interview left. The driver who worked all year to get here is with you. He's your champion. He's Richard Regan Jr.
Richard, first of all, congratulations on the championship. Extending the speed that came from the PRL era, now you get a PSR championship. First of all, how are you feeling about getting a 14-win season on the way to the title?
Yeah, man, that feels great. It's hard to win these races these days. We got so many people in the league that are fast, and I fully expect next year that it's just going to get even more competitive, and trying to really build a place where people can come in and even if they're not the best drivers, they can get comfortable here and learn and gain some speed, and I think that shows throughout the field realistically. But yeah, man, it feels great to be able to come home with a championship.
How big is it for your organization here, too, in terms of the growth you guys have put together this season? I know this time slot and many of the others, we've seen your team build up a platform of drivers. How is it about building that camaraderie amongst the team, and as a result here, continuing that success in the PSR?
Yeah, I mean, the group of guys over at Regenberg Motorsports are fantastic. I couldn't be happier with the group of guys that I have on board with us, and everyone works together as a team. A couple weeks ago at Michigan, we were all working hard together to try to get Loving or Barney locked into the Championship 4, and I know Barney was working with me a little bit earlier in the race, trying to keep some pressure off of me, and I really appreciate that. And Reese Bogue and Nick Byer, two guys who normally race in this league, they took the night off to help me out with Reese Spont for me and Byer being on the pit box tonight, helping out with strategy calls. So, that means a lot to me. I just can't thank those guys enough.
So on that note here, how do you feel about next year for 2025 for PSR, especially building up the success of coming to this season, especially knowing the way the series came to be with the way PRL closed down, and now, of course, you guys taking that torch and being able to build a strong series from it?
Yeah, 2026 I think is going to be a great year for us as a league. Personally, I've never been on any of the management side of the league, so 2025 was a huge learning curve for me, and I've tried to open up my eyes to a couple different things, and I've joined you guys in the booth at Green Flag TV a couple times, just getting different perspectives of things, and We got a couple of exciting things planned for next year that we're going to be excited to be releasing soon. Obviously, we're going to have the Winter Series, which will be open to anybody who has competed with us in 2025. And then, we got the trucks will be coming back next year, and we'll be announcing a new series as well.
Definitely see what happens then. Once again, congratulations. How anything else you want to mention before we let you go?
Yeah, for sure. I got to give a shout out to my girlfriend, Kaylee. She supports me in pretty much everything I do, and she's pretty much the backbone. I got to give a shout out to Reese Bogue, Nick Byer for helping me out tonight, everybody at Regan Bogue Motorsports, my mom, my dad, my buddies Brian and Doug for watching, everyone that helps out, everyone that supports me, Mission 22, Multiple Sclerosis Society, Nanism, Kaylee Sweet Creations, just everybody that's on board with me, and I'd like to give a shout out to everybody who helps run the league, all of our supporting sponsors. Give a shout out to Outlap and you guys at Green Flag TV.
Congratulations on the championship, Richard.
Thank you.
Richard Regan Jr., your 2025 PSR Outlap Motorsports Truck Series champion, Derrick.
Yeah, it's been an amazing year. It's hard to think that we started this with Green Flag TV with PSR back in April, and here we are in the month of November crowning the first ever season-long champion. JP, it's been an amazing broadcast. We've had you here with me. Evan Pasoko, Lucas Smoody, everyone else involved in this broadcast, Brad Daniels, all the way down, who's helped with the broadcast. Thank you so much for an amazing year. Dustin, Ollis, our producer, week by week, has helped innovate this production and challenges and pushes me and helps me learn every week on what things we can do to make the broadcast better. For everyone who's watched a single minute of PSR this year, you've helped grow Green Flag TV, and we appreciate you as well. Next up here, JP, we're going to go watch the jumpy trucks at Fuji.
It's not jumpy trucks.
It's NASCAR trucks. I apologize.
It's beer league, regardless.
Yeah, I
it's
thought they were
not
running the
at
trucks.
all.
Oh.
As Derrick has an argument with Dustin Ollis, let's get you set up to go to the beer league. Let's see what they are doing tonight. We'd like to thank you for tuning in here on Green Flag TV for tonight's coverage of PSR, the Outlap Motorsports Truck Series. Once again, for Dustin Ollis, for Derrick Watson, I'm Justin Prince saying so long. Let's go to the beer league, shall we?